Oi, eu sou a Tina.
Oi, eu sou a Júlia.
E esse é o We Are to Fashion.
Hi!
Hello, guys.
Bonjour.
Bonjour.
Bonjour, actually.
Bonjour, depuis Paris.
Yes, so we are here with Aurore Brou. Is it right, the pronunciation?
Well pronounced. The R are perfect.
So, Brou was my teacher at Marangoni at the Master in Fashion Promotion and Communication. And I always admired her. She was always the best teacher.
That's
She taught me a lot. She's a very smart person. She knows a lot about the fashion industry, the luxury industry. And we're so glad to have you here, Brou. Thank you for accepting this.
And you know, the pleasure is all mine. I remember you and how we met, as you said, at Marangoni in that master. That was the last year of you transitioning from being a student to now being a fashion professional after what you've done, the professional experience that you had in Paris, then in Brazil and now in Paris again.
Yes.
So thank you to both of you for having me.
Thank you so much.
We are meeting for the first time because we didn't know each other. And I wanted to ask you to introduce yourself, talk about your journey in fashion, how everything started, and how you became a teacher after doing consulting for the fashion industry.
Yes. So again, I am Aurore Brou. I am French, Parisian, and I started my career. I've always loved fashion and history, so it has always been my thing. But I studied finance.
Yes.
The thing is, my major, as people ask, it was in finance, corporate finance. And when everybody was thinking of going to investment bank or consulting, I was, wait a minute, I love fashion. And I think that every firm has a financial department. So since, why shouldn't I do both? I'm really good at numbers and I like things that are Cartesian, but I also have my creative side. So I decided that, okay, I'll apply for my first internship. It was 17 years ago at a fashion firm that I actually like. I'm not going to say the name here.
Yes.
But I got accepted. I applied 2 days after I got called for an interview and then I started there. And in fashion, when you have specific expertise, especially in those what we call operational role, because we know that the main aspect, I know that I have to introduce myself and now I'm talking about that.
No, but it's fine. It's perfect, actually.
Because in fashion, there is the main element, especially fashion, premium and luxury. You will have the marketing communication that everybody aspires to. But around it, there are many different operational positions that are equally important and that support all of that. Supply chain, merchandising, fashion, strategy, finance, what else? And even in it, in finance, there are several positions, supply chain, several positions, so fantastic. So I went all in, and once I had fashion and fashion luxury and finance, I started my career like this because there are very few. So to me, I've always been very strategic with my career, thinking that yes, fashion is saturated. Fashion is saturated when it comes to all of those shiny roles, meaning marketing, communication, but there are all of those roles that are important that people do not know about. So it is, if you want to enter fashion, it is a really an important element. Anyway, so I moved from, I was an intern in finance till I became the financial manager of a subsidiary in German of a French group. And after that, during the pandemic, I was actually training staff, marketing and communication, so that they can understand financial requirements. And someone recommended me and the school called me. Your school.
Yes.
The school we met. And this is where I started. And it was really a calling for me because I always wanted to actually teach people. And there are so many, especially women. It has been very important for me because I see the power that women are, and women that are from multicultural background.
Yes.
Because definitely I am French, and as you can see, I have also a Western African background, and I grew up in a very international scene. And my mother and my father met in London when they were studying. So I see the power that you have when you mix different culture, different and womanhood.
Yes.
It is fantastic, but you have to know certain things that you only know in the industry. And that's why going to Marangoni and teaching has allowed me to meet you.
Yes.
To meet specific people, because when people want to push you fashion, sometimes we think it's risky. It is risky.
Yeah.
And when you choose to leave your country, to come, the comfort of your country, to come to another country, to study, it means that you are special, not to make you happy. Don't think that, but it means that you are special.
Yes.
And meeting all of those people that are also special and that bring their perspective, it has been absolutely fantastic. So this is what I've been doing, then research, and then private freelance consultancy for firms. And I have published a big report for the industry that I wrote, and that got released in June, regarding the industrial aspect of luxury and fashion in France.
That's amazing.
So, the industrial aspect of fashion also is very interesting.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I think that now you know
And
everything.
where we can find this report? Can we find it online?
Oh, yes, you can find it. It's for a think tank that is called Fondation Concorde.
Okay.
And it is the first study on luxury industry. It's really a think tank that is an economic think tank, and that really talk about industry, sovereignty, etc. But then we are bringing the luxury aspect, because in France, what that report underlined is that for many countries, maybe fashion and luxury, it's a second sector. But in France, luxury is the first industry, because as you know, and I will discuss in class, there is the luxury industry, and the luxury industry cross different sector.
Exactly.
Wine, gastronomy, we'll have the time to talk about that. So it was to underline that and saying that France has to consider it that really and work it as an economic force, power, strength, advantage, you name it. So I think that's enough. I've spoken too much.
We're gonna put a link.
Exactly. We're gonna put it here so people can find it online.
Okay.
But since you mentioned it, I know the report is about France, but when it comes to the global luxury market, how do you see it right now? Like the moment of luxury market, because we see like many difference worldwide. We see like America growing up a bit, Middle East going a bit down. Like, what do you think is driving these differences, and how does it impact the whole industry?
So the first thing is really to look at fashion, premium, luxury. Those three elements are different, even if they meet. In the fashion industry, you have different level of fashion. You have the fast fashion, so Zara, H&M, Shein, etc. You have the premium brand, those Sandro, Mage, Claudie Pierlot, Art de Femme, Rio, etc. And you have the luxury brand.
Yeah.
Luxury in itself cross different sectors that goes from arts of table to private boats, cars, etc., etc. And you have premium. So fashion is clearly a sector that you can pin. Luxury is a cross sector, if I can explain it like this. And then we're going to look at the market. And all over our conversation, I will really pay attention to really distinguish fashion, luxury, premium. So if we talked about fashion, and especially fashion, premium fashion and luxury fashion, the whole world has evolved. When the world started, or the modern world has been built into Western Europe being the trendsetter, the fashion element, and Northern America, especially the US, from the 60s till the 2010. With even the 2000, with the globalization, so the fact that the wall got scrambled and internet globalization came. So what it has created is that created a diverse clientele. And then when I say diverse clientele, we really have to go deep into what I call a diverse clientele. It means that, first of all, it's no longer only men.
Yes.
Now women have money. While before, till the 70s, even the 80s, it was men. Even those big dynasties, it was men. But the 90s, the 2000, 2010, 2020s, we have now women that have money.
Yes.
And you can see how the fact that women have money impacts certain sectors. For instance, nails. Okay, I haven't done my nails. I remove everything. I have to redo them. But if you see, the nails industry started to grow with women having power, and it created jobs. So when women have power, they will have a specific demand for certain things. Then in the women, we have young people that before you wouldn't have a 20-something having money. But with social media, with all of the technology job that the boomers or even the certain millennial cannot do, Gen Z, late millennial, etc., have purchasing power.
Yeah.
So you see the craze now for coffee shop. The main customer are not they are the Gen Z. So those people are, and they want, the more you have money, the better you want your experience and your consumption.
Exactly.
Then we have people from non-European background that also have money. Because if you take different region in the world, when you take, so non-Western Europe, now if you take those, the Balkan region, Eastern Europe, Poland, for instance, and the industry has boomed and it has created more wealth. If you take Latin America in it, because I know Central America, South America, the Caribbean, all that are Latin American, I've learned my lesson. And you've seen that there were people that were having business there from even before the 60s, but they had limited clientele. With globalization, it went va-va-voom. So also wealth in those areas and people that had wealth and got more wealthier, and those that didn't have it actually had more. And especially in Brazil, but we can talk about that with the 2008 crisis, the fact that Brazil were not in the SWIFT movement has helped in the system, has skyrocketed Brazil, plus technology, investment in education, etc. So there is a middle class that is being created. This is what has happened in China. The fact that, again, with industrial revolution, their industrial revolution, and becoming the manufacturer of the world, the middle class boomed and became the main customer of luxury. And when we take Africa, South Africa, Nigeria, and certain countries with oil, with tech, etc., booming. So all over, and Australia, Australia, and so when you put all of them together, you are saying that people that have the means that consume premium and luxury are extremely diverse and different from before. Yes. And at the beginning, they start to consume like Europeans are consuming. But at the moment, wait a minute, okay, it's not all that.
Yeah.
It's not all that. And they start even in interior design, they will start saying that, I think that our designer, our wood, our marble is sort of better. Or it's not that creative, actually. So what is happening also is that awareness that the Western world, in terms of fashion and luxury, is not all that. Yes, they are incredible houses that I love, that have craftsmanship, but you also have it in other parts of the world that are at a different stage of development. So to respond to your question, all of those big things, it's my teaching deformation, if I can say that.
No, but it's so important to give really the whole background.
So today we have, yes, the Western world, meaning that the allies after the World War II, we have the US, we have the BRICS, so Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa. it means that they are very advanced in industrial, etc., and they are reaching those developed so-called developed countries, and you have also the rest of the world, and everyone knows now want a better quality, and plus social media, everyone wants to show up that it has a good life. So to me today, the established houses in Europe will always be established because they have the competitive advantage of time, and also of branding that they have been able to build, and it's in our subconscious. But then the young people are saying, okay, we are no longer seeing innovation. To me, Dior used to be my favorite brand, but I have been disappointed the last 10 years. And I really like the romantic aspect. So I'm going to look for romanticism in other brands. And I'm going to start looking at what they do in Asia, in Brazil, etc. So all those taste maker, and with social media, we are seeing that it's not all that. And we want to be unique. To me, yes, there was that trend where we all have to be the same, but I bet that the next following year, that identity, the need to have your own identity when it comes to expressing yourself through fashion will be important. And your own identity will be your uniqueness. Where you find your uniqueness in different area in the world, your ability to travel, to understand culture, to pick those designers, etc. And those designers have also to do the work to be findable.
Yeah, of
course. So this is what I can say so far in terms of the rest of the world.
It's really interesting because yesterday we were on Snapchat, and the person that we talked to, she said that she sees a difference in strategy in luxury because the customer has changed. Before, they were focused on the VICs and those important clients.
Yes.
And now, because they were spending a lot of money, and that's good, it was enough. But now they are looking for a lot of clients with different backgrounds. That's exactly what you said. And it's really interesting to see your point of view as a strategic background, and she is from a social media background.
Exactly.
So everybody is really like in the same page with this idea.
And also, as you said, like before we didn't have that many options, of brands.
Absolutely.
When we talk about makeup, for example, we had only a few. Now we have like many. So you really need to find your point of difference. So consumer can connect with you, can really like look for your product and spread the word, let's say it like this. So
And
it's very interesting.
in this point of view, we are seeing that people are really thinking about what they spend money on. And there's a data that says people are thinking 1.5 times more before spending money. And because there's a lot of experiences and other things that cost a lot of money, instead of buying things, people are trying to focus on travel experiences in general. What do you think this means to luxury brands? Do you think they have to change the mindset to be more focused on experiences with the consumer? What do you think about this?
Hospitality, for example.
So even I'll be quick, but there is that element of transformational that now people want to buy something or buy something or an experience and feel transformed, feel transcended, either a product or a thing. And today, when you are buying certain things, it does not. Once you buy it, okay, I've got it, and guess what? People have noticed that before, since we are all women, young people from different backgrounds, we all wanted things. Then we have those things, and we realize that
It's nothing changed.
Yes,
a lot.
exactly. And when you reach, and even in that Maslow pyramid of the different needs that a human being has, you reach that level where you are looking inside and you are thinking, okay, now I wanted to change my life. I want it to have an impact on who I am.
True.
And this is where luxury brands are. It means that this is why now people are checking more and more the fabric. And there is even a trend saying that people are tired of polyester when it comes to your pilates, etc. We want to have cotton garments. People, so to me, the product will always be here, but it will now be taken for granted that if you say that you're a luxury brand, your quality, the product, etc., has to be top notch.
To make people feel something.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. To make people feel something, that because when you touch a certain quality of cotton or linen, etc., it has even an impact on your mood and on your body. Then object is object. When you start knowing yourself, you buy things that match you. Why am I saying that? Because when you buy things, you are searching for yourself and you are trying to know yourself better. But with all of those information that are out there, we are now discovering ourselves with color analysis that exists. Everybody has to have a color analysis. With face, form to body, etc. Those are, for instance, consultancy that I give. I see that once you know what works for you, you buy more consciously and you have your things forever. Now you want to elevate, you want to become a superhuman. To me, I think that we have reached that level where people want to become superhuman. I want to be at the best of my abilities, and I want to be the happiest possible. And I think that this is what everybody is after now. This is why when I'm going to buy, I want to feel something and I want to be transformed. I want to learn something. So that's why, if you notice, most of the firms, the luxury brand, are now using a craftsmanship in their advertisement to make you feel something and to say that above what you are buying, it is a craft that's been passed from generation to generation. Before it was said, now it is seen. That you are seeing more hands, even you get to know the name of those artisans, those craftsmen and women. And then once you have that product, in order to have the product, there is a lifestyle that is created. That's to show you how you will introduce that in your when I say superior life, I mean in terms of elevation and internal elevation. And then we have the self. As you heard, longevity. We want to live as long as possible. So it means that what we eat, what we drink,
we do, like exercise.
Exactly.
We always talk about wellness and fashion. It's like really related.
Absolutely. So today, everything that will make us live longer and live longer while being healthier will be it. And it will be in the object that we consume. It will be in the community that we build. And that's why also today, if I buy at a luxury brand, I want to be part of a community that exists. And I think that luxury brands should definitely start creating and connecting their customer. Like for instance, Ferrari or Rolls-Royce, they have clubs. And we want, and I know that for brands, there are certain dinners that they do with the designer where they invite the VIC and then you meet yourself in the club. So now buying also luxury, it's connecting. So all of those and all of this, it is experiential, understanding the craftsmanship, being taught about what you are using and etc. But having those little secrets that people do not know that give you taste. Then how are you going to then live with it, experience it for the longest period of time, meaning yourself? So this is what I am seeing and also there is the aspect of protection, because someone that wants to live longer has to be protected. And your thing must be protected. So that's why in the same element, when we saw with the raw material, the commodities, silver, gold skyrocketed on the stock market, people have noticed that there are certain values or certain things that will never lose value. Jewelries. Jewelries, it's a common and word. So it will always be that thing that jewelry will never lie. So to me, jewelry is not to be disappeared. It will be there and will now be more regarded, and people are studying more stones and those values, those exchange values on those metals. Then you will have all of those beautifying things. And so the brand have to be able to, yes, giving the product, it is already granted.
Yeah.
And now, how are we going to live longer and better with those products? It will be through the experience, and the experience that we can experience only with that brand.
Exactly.
Or the one that we can copy in our homes.
Yeah.
So this is how I am seeing the luxury industry growing and having strong identity.
Yeah.
I know that concept of identity across the world has become very conflictive. That identity, because when we say identity, we also think of, we reject the other. Because we are seeing nationalism rising, etc. Because each and every one of us are now searching for our identity. Who are we?
Yeah.
Because you notice that, okay, I am that, but I have other experience. You know, you will never be only Julia.
Yes.
You will never be only because you went to other places, you lived in other places, you met,
exactly.
and so you are not just that girl, those girls you were in high school or university. You became incredible, and also you now making your own money. When you make your own money, especially for women, for etc., you're like, they told me that I was that, but actually I am not.
Yes.
So there is that search. And also, why are we agreeing on certain point of view that other dominating countries are giving us? We have our own La Brasilidad or something like this.
Yeah.
We have our own.
Yes,
That how are we going to place that and be proud of it, etc. And this is where the brands are coming, because they will have to deal with the fact that your product have to be impeccable. This we know. They will have to create experiences that are elevated, that you can find only in the brand, that you can replicate, that the client, the customer can replicate in his homes. And also, how are you going to actually bring value to the brand identity, but also to the customer identity? So we are really in that, to me, in those transformative moments, and we want innovation. Now, basic, we are tired of basic. We want innovation. We want new voices. We want new nuances. We want new way of doing, of watching, of analyzing it. We want deeper things. And there are cultures that are more, that stays very on the surface level, and there are cultures that are very into wow, women, innovation, etc., etc. So now I think that brands will have to definitely fulfill the VIC client, which are 30, it's only 1% in the population that make 30% of their turnover. Then you have those other 60% that are the biggest part of the population that you have to go and pick. And they are all over the world now. And you have to be able to pick, to identify them, and to give them what they want. Because now people are not only, when they eat out of table, some will be more into, it will be eating. For other, it will be a sport. For other, it will be jewelries. For others, it will be etc., leisure. So all of those music instruments, where France is one of the top producer of luxury music instruments, even though they use some Brazilian wood. This I know. So this is how I'm seeing things. I've talked too much.
No,
that's why we are here.
Exactly. You have so much knowledge, and it's so interesting, the connections that you make, you know, that I think there are many things we never thought about. And
Actually, I feel like we think about things like
separate,
and
but she connected everything.
Yeah,
exactly.
She was talking right now, and I was thinking about all the things that Chanel has made with their communications. Like, it's so relatable, and that's why it's incredible to see a brand doing like a campaign of really the perfect bag. in the metro, you know, like people are
They're trying to
relate.
Exactly.
Yeah.
More
This
like
is-
diversify the communication, be a bit more fresh and young. And also like when you mentioned this thing that brands are trying to show the craftsman, the community, etc. I think it's also related a bit to what we are living related to AI, because we are so afraid, you know, of the technology. We're so like, oh my god, my job, and we are feeling overwhelmed about all of this.
True.
We are trying to connect again with everything that is human, you know.
Absolutely.
So this thing
Very
about
true.
community,
Very true.
having like
Indeed.
in-person meetings, etc. So yeah, I think it's really the point.
Yeah, it's very interesting, as you said, because as we know, luxury is really rarity and exclusivity, and it will be exclusive and rare to have the end and the people, as you say, because we are in a rising AI world. So definitely craftsmanship and community will be something very rare that when you have it, you have a taste of luxury.
Exactly. And you were mentioning this thing about the difference between the identities and countries, and it made me think about emerging markets, just like Brazil, for example, because it's a huge market that has been growing in the last few years, like more and more, even more than the global average, let's say. So it's one of the fastest, when we talk specifically about Brazil, it's one of the fastest growing luxury markets.
Yes.
And what do you think attracts a brand now to go to Brazil? Because I mean, we also have our own, you know, like luxury brands. They're very Brazilian. That are the things are produced in Brazil. So when we think about like worldwide, like why would a brand go to Brazil and try to attract these?
First of all, you have to be aware of country's identity, brand identity. Brazil from the past, I mean, even if I can say 40 years and even maybe more, Brazil has been known as a country of sun, party, carnival, colors.
Yeah.
Those are the first ideas. Plus, that's you had that music video, beautiful, tonight, where on those stairs. That also created that things about Brazil and the baddies and the promiscuity, etc., that people had in the past, and that image of Brazilian people, it's all only partying in Rio and Rio de Janeiro. And now, the past 2 and 3 years, I think that Brazil has got the highest rate of visitors that it has ever had before.
Yes, it's true.
And before, many people needed a visa to go. Even when you were French, before 2024, you needed a visa to go to Brazil.
Okay.
But it has been cancelled. So barrier to enter Brazil has been cancelled. So a lot of people are going there. Then there are things that are not known about Brazil. To me, first of all, the technology. On social media, if you have Brazilian fans, your followers will skyrocket it. Very supportive, very loyal, so you have a big presence of Brazilian people on social media. Where we are making decisions.
True.
Second, the technology system. Brazil is very autonomous in terms of technology. You have your own money system. You have that CPF, CPF that you use. You have your own Pix, which is not exactly, and that is not connected to Visa or MasterCard.
Yes, it's not.
And it is very powerful because, again, I've been working, but it wasn't. But on payment, and our payment is big for us, for a country's sovereignty. So you have your country that technologically is huge. We know that it is a culture, but then we have people. And there is just one image that people had of Brazilian, that are Brazilian dancing and partying. While when you go to Sao Paulo, and the galleries, the art, the visual art, insane. The interior design. To me, The interior design are absolutely out of this world. Anyway, you have fantastic architectures that are worldwide known. And I've seen an AD editorial with the singer Anita in her home.
Oh, her home. Yeah. It's amazing.
The quality of wood, of marble, and it has been made in Brazil by Brazilians.
Yeah.
So, you know, there is a Brazilian taste that people are not aware of. Everybody's thinking, okay, we are moving the dairy and all of that. While it is just a glimpse at what Brazil is capable of. The other thing is that Brazil has the raw material.
Yes.
Yeah. The leather, wood, stones. I mean, everything luxurious can be made, and even, you know, shoes. A lot of shoes are made now.
Many luxury brands from here, like Hermes, has many things that comes from Brazil. Like they plant things there to produce. So,
and at the same time, you have the population of Brazil that, because education has been growing, technological job, but also raw material and commodities, people are making more and more money. So you will have a middle class that will keep growing, and the people, the 1%, will keep also having more. So, and the population of Brazil is huge. So when you mix a middle class that is growing, top 1% that also is growing and promising to be growing, you have customers that are very loyal to brand identity.
yeah.
It is a recipe for success, even for positioning your brand. And I wanted to say something on the other end, that at the same time, so brands have to be aware of where Brazil is going on it. And the Brazilian life, definitely for everybody, it is ingrained in our head that when you succeed, you have to have a European brand. But at the same time, inside the country, you have incredible brand. Oh, I haven't worn it. I bought some stone jewelries in Brazil. And to me, those brands have to be known, have to use social media, but not only to be visible to Brazilian people. The issue is the language barrier. Portuguese.
Yeah.
It is only Brazil, Cape Verde, Portugal, Mozambique, certain country, and some country in the Caribbean. So there is that language barrier, but the fact that people are traveling there, and people are having more and more money in Brazil, there will be a meeting. Another issue in Brazil is tax.
That's true.
That's
a whole discussion.
Yes, because the thing is that in a certain way, it protects your market, and it lets the chance to premium brand and luxury brand to grow.
That's what I was going to say, because I worked in a premium shoe brand.
Yes.
And in Brazil, this brand competes with luxury brands.
Yes.
They don't compete premium with premium. They compete premium with luxury.
Yes.
So when we did a lot of research, we were aiming on Gucci and Dolce & Gabbana, even Bottega, because when the people who spend a lot of money on a Brazilian brand, they are just behind choosing another global brand.
Yes.
And it's really difficult to manage that, because we're talking about brands that has like 100 years of this heritage. That's what you said. That's where they win. And it's really interesting, because I feel like here in Europe, this wouldn't happen. A luxury brand competing with a premium brand. And I feel like this is just something in emerging countries that we see, because here it's the you said the cross, like luxury, premium, fast. It's really, how can I say?
Yes,
it's really,
there's a stratosphere. It's really
hierarchized, determined, like strict. And there it's like a mess, because we don't have this.
Yes, and this is where today the recipe for success has been institutionalized.
Okay.
We want a definition, and this is how things have been successful in Europe. everything has been named,
Yes.
defined, classified. And when you ask something, you have a response. Today, what is if we ask a Brazilian, or how does Brazil define its fashion? How does Brazil define its luxury?
Yeah.
France will say, oh, it's the craftsmanship,
the
the history, the
savoir-faire.
savoir-faire. As you know, but today, for a Brazilian brand, what is Brazil? Because the rest of the world has defined what Brazilian is.
Yeah.
But what's your definition of what Brazil should be? And how are you portraying that to the rest of the world, rather than some staying in those cliches?
Yeah. Yeah, this is a whole discussion I feel in Brazil, because we always had this like the European way, or even like the US, you know, we were always like wanting to be them
Yeah,
in
American
a
way.
or even like be validated by them.
Yes.
You know, like we can even do our own thing, but like if they don't validate, it's not worth it. So I think we're in a moment now where we're finally understanding the power that we have inside our country. Although it's still hard, you know, like to go abroad. Like for a Brazilian brand, it's also very expensive to come here, sell like in Europe or US. But I think we're finally noticing that we don't have to copy Europe or copy US. And actually now I think they are copying us, you know, because we have this authenticity.
Yeah.
And even like my friends here in France, they're asking like, where is your outfit from? And I'm always like, it's a Brazilian brand.
Yes.
And they're like, oh my God, you know, like we don't even know that they exist.
Exactly.
Which is very sad. But also like now with globalization, with the power of social media, I think they also have the chance to like enter in the social media, discover the brand, consider buying the brand, etc.
There's a Brazilian brand called Neste.
Yeah.
And every time
luxury brand,
it's a
very
luxury
known.
brand. Yeah, it's really big. And every time the creative director, like someone talks to him, people name the brand like Brazilian luxury brand. And he is like, we are not a Brazilian luxury brand. We are a luxury brand based in Brazil. You don't have to say like Brazilian luxury brand. It's just as luxury as another one. We are just based here in Brazil.
Exactly. And I agree with that. It's the same thing when people are saying it's a woman something.
Yeah,
or
exactly.
It is. And last but not least, it is also defining what luxury is. Very, very important. There are different names and all of that. And what makes a premium brand different from a luxury brand is the immaterial thing. So there are 3 pillars of luxury but one is the tangible, meaning the product, all the excellence, the savoir-faire, the boutique, the shop, where you're going to find the brand that has to be on a certain level. Second is the relational, meaning that, first of all, how the brand interact with you and what the brand makes you feel, etc. And how is it happening when you go by, and how it position yourself in the social stratosphere. Because you buy luxury because you know better, because you have better, because you are culturally more aware. You are not buying luxury for buying luxury. It's because you recognize quality. It's because you want to be part of, you are part even and subconsciously, I have issues with those words. In your subconscious, you know that it represents something that you value. And then the last thing is the emotional aspect.
Yeah.
And the emotional aspect is what makes a brand different, a premium, different from a luxury brand.
Okay.
What the emotional means? The emotional means that when you think of that brand, it brings you somewhere else. It puts you in a dream. You are in a myth. You are experiencing a myth. If I take the Mercedes and what's James Bond's car again, Aston Martin. or a Rolls Royce. A Mercedes is a brand that is premium. It is not luxury. Maybe the Bentley or Maybach, that is luxury. But a Mercedes is a car that is tangibly impeccable quality, etc. It does the job, and even above. In terms of relational, it positions yourself as being someone that is successful in its life, that is, and the brand respects you, etc., etc. Yeah. But emotionally, it doesn't create a myth. Yeah. Okay, but when you have a Rolls Royce or an Aston Martin is a James Bond car. Yeah. It's so uncomfortable that it's open like this, and you enter. Yeah. When you are in a Rolls Royce, it's a nobility car. Yeah. So it shows that, yes, and they have a club of very few people having it. The same thing when you Dior, there is all of that history of Christian Dior creating in 1947 the new look, all of this. And this is where brands that want to position, and luxury takes time. Sometimes premium are even more expensive than luxury. Yeah. But what lack is the emotional aspect. When people are thinking of a brand that is a premium brand that is from Brazil, what is a brand in Brazil that make them dream, that have created a myth behind it? And an example is, for instance, Ralph Lauren in the US. Yeah. Ralph Lauren was a guy from the Bronx in New York. Yeah. He has never been all of what the brand represents. Yeah. But he knew that he had no story compared to European brand. What he decided is that he decided to create that myth of the East Coast Bostonian families and those American preppy that has been long before in the US. And he created that whole universe,
literally. Yeah.
So when you buy Ralph Lauren, you're like, okay, it's old money American. The brand is not that old.
Yeah, exactly. But you feel like it is.
You feel like it, that you have access to that American dreamer, American preppiness, and all of that. And so when you are a new country, it's a big word, but compared to certain country in Europe, the narrative will be the one that will bring. And to me, I think that so far, this is where brands across the world are maybe missing at creating this universe, but a universe that makes you feel, not a universe that you'll be curious about and you will be, I'm going to come and dance and etc. Because people have been here. I know that there are other brands, but they wanted to associate that to tropical paradise. Yes. Yeah. This is the thing that it's tropical. I want my tropical vibe. While it is more than that. So what does Farm Rio as a brand want to make us feel, but not to satisfy maybe the European gaze? Mm-hmm. So this is what, and we have, as you say, I've seen especially jewelries in Brazil. My God.
Yes, it's amazing.
It is fantastic. Yeah. Some pieces, I'm not even going to compare Cartier to some of those pieces. Uh-huh. They are fantastic. You cannot compare a love bracelet or a clue or whatever.
Yeah.
But there is that emotional aspect that has to be brought. That myth, that dream. Full point. I could go on and on, so I'll let you.
So, as a professor, if you could give an advice to someone that wants to work in luxury, what do you say?
Yeah, because just to give like a disclaimer, our audience sometimes is people that already works in fashion or luxury, but many of them would like to enter this market. They have many questions of how does it work, where do I start? So you, with all your knowledge or journey, it would be amazing to hear some advice.
First, culture. If you want to enter and to enter the European market, to make it big in the luxury word culture, you have to be a person of culture. Being a person of culture meaning art. You have to understand all of those era, from impressionism to cubism to modern art to pop art to baroque, and being able to understand from Renaissance and all of that. You have to understand history. And not only European, meaning that you are able to understand a bit of the history that happened in India, in the Indus Valley, what has happened in Africa, what has happened in Brazil. You know, you have to have that. You have culture.
Yeah.
Culture is extremely important. Culture of things that you, but culture of the words.
Yeah.
We always say to the people, they always ask us like, do you have any tips on where to find information about the fashion industry? And we always say that fashion is a lot more than just clothes.
Exactly.
It's art. You have to know the history.
Yes.
You have to be able to look at something and know like where this like reference.
Yes.
Where people look before doing something.
Absolutely.
And it doesn't like, it's not that precious to know only about fashion or only about luxury if you don't know about the rest, you know,
Absolutely.
like social situation around the world, you know, like the culture, the history, because otherwise like you can't have a good reference, or because the thing is, I think everyone have this
Conception.
exactly this concept of I need to know everything about fashion, everything about luxury, and they don't consider that they need to know what's happening in the other industries, and sometimes even like have an inspiration in other industry, you know, like how can I apply this to my universe in fashion, in luxury?
Everything relates. The things that you said were really based on economical things. And the other thing that you said, like, if you want to work in fashion, there's a lot of jobs that people don't know about. And we always say, like, every company has a financial department.
An HR department.
An HR department. Yeah, people just forget about it.
Yeah.
You know, people are just really focused
They have
on
a tech today. They
yeah,
have a
the
tech
tech.
department.
The
The
tech
law department.
the law department. So
Exactly.
the options are like, you know,
Yeah.
it's many things, and yeah,
And
that's
also something that we always say here in the podcast is that like sometimes people forget that fashion is an industry. Like in the end, you have to think about revenue, you know, like everything.
You
like
know,
not a dream.
Exactly.
It's a company in the end.
Fashion is hard. I mean, when you start in fashion, you have to give yourself 10 years. 10 years when you are selling product. If it's experiences, but because product, you have to use your own money to produce things that you are not sure people, even
Will
if you
buy.
do all of those analysis, data analysis, there is always a margin where people won't be interested. But you've already spent the money. The money is lost.
Yeah.
And you have to keep going and retry and retry. When you do wholesale, you're going to send your things there and maybe they'll pay you next year.
yeah.
Unfortunately, and we see this is another thing that you can all read about, how the wholesale world with all of those department stores, what they have been doing to actually brands. So you really have to have a financial structure. And we are in a capitalistic world, want it or not. Even China, that used to be communist, understood that it had to adapt to capitalism, but with its own twist. We are in a world where what capitalism means, it is not a bad word, but people have been using or exploiting it. It is that you have your resources. We all have resources here. And I know that in class I talked about that.
Yes.
We all have our resources, and your resources will be yourself. So all of the culture, the creativity, everything that you've been exposed to, it will be your people, the community that you have around you. Then you will have your own money, your own ability, the capability that you have, your skills that you can give to receive money. All of that in the capitalistic world, you use it to make money and to make profits, meaning that you will earn more than you spend. This is what it is. But then some people will go and exploit or do things that are bad to have that profit. This is not what we're talking about, but understanding the economic system and understand that you are not on an island. Everything is related. Everything is related and it takes time.
Yeah. It's this conversation was amazing. I feel like in Brazil we have fashion universities, fashion courses, but they're all focused on the creativity side, like fashion design, fashion, And I studied at Bocconi in Milan, and Julia studied with you. Yeah. So we have this knowledge how the fashion business university courses works, but in Brazil this is not so spread, unfortunately. So guys that are watching this video, this is a fashion business class. Really, this is what we learn in business classes.
Exactly.
In Italy, in Paris, this is really interesting, and thank you very, very much for this.
Actually, I wanted to make one last question so we can close.
Please.
Since we talked a lot about the luxury market, do you have any bets or predictions for this next 5 years in this market? What do you see now? Maybe when we talk about AI, technology, etc.
I think, first of all, as I'm saying, it will be identity. Things will be shifting. To me, in who decide, who are actually having the pendulum. It's people that will be bolder, unique, that will bring uniqueness. And uniqueness does not mean that you create something totally new, but different.
Yes.
That for me will be the things that in everything, even in the way we consume media, it will be about being very innovative and putting your innovation out there. It is no longer, I don't want to be seen. We all were, but I want to be seen, and I want to be seen in my uniqueness. I think that second, we are going towards superhuman. People will want to be better, to feel better, at the same time to be to feel protected, to feel that they can live longer. So everything that will enhance the humankind, I really see how wellness and healthcare will come meet luxury. To me, it is something, and Brazil has a competitive advantage on it.
Yeah.
In Brazil, I noticed that when I went in February, that you guys are really, really good at health, at taking care of your body, workout. Yeah. You have very good physiotherapists, and those sort of things. So now, and even in Paris, my physiotherapist is a Brazilian lady. She's known as she's doing even miracles, if I can say that. So how Brazil will position itself, because to me, I think it's an opportunity. Brazil is known for beauty, etc., but for wellness, healthcare, reliable and high level, how does Brazil, if I talk about Brazil, be into it? So that transformative luxury, I think those are the two. A high level of uniqueness and identity out there. The fact that you'll be able, I forgot what I said. And the fact that you'll be able to merge luxury, healthcare and wellness. And the last one, I wanted to say, it's to be highly competent and tech savvy. At the end of the day, if you are not competent and good at what you do, AI won't save you.
Yeah, I won't save you. Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, so yeah.
Exactly. No, that's perfect. I think we're very happy with this conversation because really you add so much to the conversation. You bring so much knowledge, and it's so inspiring because you mentioned like how it's important to you to like teach women, etc. And for us, it's very important as young ladies
Yes.
to have you as a reference, you know,
Yeah,
to see
thank
that
you.
you got there, that you're there in the luxury market, and yeah, that we have a bright future, I hope.
Yeah, we do.
Thank you so
100%.
much.
Thank you to you. Thank you to you for coming, for organizing it. Thank you for your podcast. We want innovation. You are giving us innovation, new voice, new way of saying things, new identities. So I'm very honored, very
Thank you
thankful
very much.
to have been received here. And absolutely thank you to Brazil for creating that unique culture in the world that is recognized, for the quality of the material that you use, for the people, for the Brasilidad, and
Yes.
and yeah,
I love that you love Brazil.
Yes,
That's
exactly.
amazing.
Yes.
and merci to you
Merci.
both.
Merci. Merci. Bye.
Bye.